Welcome, friends. I am so glad to have you back. We are recording this in January, but I'm sure you are watching this in February. So welcome to the past that is becoming the future, I guess. And talking about timelines, we're going to be talking about something that I fully believe has everything to do with really jumping into the future and being able to break the chains of the past to make the future happen so that your future can become your present. I know we're talking about quantum stuff, but but it's really a lot more simple than that. We are going to be talking about limiting beliefs with one of my dearest soul sisters. They're all dear to me. I know I say that, you guys, and you're like, you say this about every single one. And I do, because it's true. Miss Joanna. Joanna is an intuitive of the highest caliber. She has been killing it out there, working in a variety of different industries, but has since decided to become a full-time intuitive and is really just working her way into this just extraordinary business. And I just know that she is going to explode here. And so I'm so excited for you to get to meet her and talk about how limiting beliefs have functioned in her life and how she has broken those barriers and how she is making her dreams come true and really manifesting the life that she wants to be living. So without further ado, hello, Joanna, how are you
Hi,
doing?
that is the most amazing intro I've ever had. You've set the bar. Thank you so
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I know behind the scenes we talked a little bit about, like, all right, what would we talk about? And the day that it came to me, I remember sitting, I do have like an office job by day, and I was sitting at work and I was just like, limiting beliefs. This is what we're going to talk about. This, and I like text you immediately. And I was like, I think I have the conversation.
Yes,
So thank you so much.
it's such a prevalent and like timely issue. And I think, well, when we're recording this, it's the beginning of 2022. And
Mhm.
I think at the beginning of every year, we really see our limiting beliefs really crop up, and we either pay attention to them in order to fulfill our resolutions, or we don't, and we get sidetracked by them. And so I'm interested to jump into this with you. So I guess like the best place to start is, do you have a list of limiting beliefs?
Oh my God, if I were to list them out, I'd probably like would be too afraid to tackle them. For me, it's just kind of like as they come up, as I recognize them, as I become there, there's a lot of self-awareness in I hate calling it the work, but this work that we've done, like
Mhm.
there's just a lot of self-awareness that comes out of it. And once you reach that level of self-awareness, then as these things creep up, then you're able to identify them. And then you're like, oh, that thing again keeps coming down. So the one I always talk about, and when we're in Soul Teacher, in our chat, I always reference is my money mindset,
Mhm.
because I come from a family where, the money always came as it was seen like as lack, like lack of. And it's
Yes.
like it's not, how could I explain it? It's like we recognize our abundance and we are grateful for all the things, but there are so many conversations about like that dream of like if we had X amount or can't do this because this. And so I have my own journey with that because for me it's been like finances always feels like the factor as to which I am in a situation or couldn't accomplish something or something, anything, like it comes back to that as the excuse for it.
Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest limiting belief that I've been working through in the past year, and it's going to be an ongoing, job with that. And then there's like the romantic life and
Mhm.
limiting beliefs around love, like when you really ask yourself and you're like, oh, I'm worthy of this, and you're like, I love myself, and then you have to start to like really ask questions and really figure out like, are you saying that or do you really believe that? Because
Yes.
limiting beliefs like hide in under layers and layers that you might say you believe in things and at the core you don't. Because, and I feel, oh, just before I even say this, like I'm already like, wow, this is like kind of deep. But I
I was about
feel
to say,
like
whatever you're about to say, like I just got goosebumps.
um I feel like you don't know the true answer to that until you hit a low point. How you feel
Yes.
in your low points, like jot it down, journal it, and that's the belief you have to work on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. I hear you. And certainly the money mindset as and I think that this is something too that, speaking from the perspective of like people of color, right? In
Yeah.
addition to women, like we're both women and women of color, right? This idea of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, hustling,
Hmm.
do earning, right? This like notion that if you're not doing something, then you're not earning. Therefore,
Right.
do you deserve what comes in, right? And just believing that you can have these extraordinary month after month after month when it in relation to money, right? I
Hmm.
keep telling myself, because I too am working on this belief of like lack, like you said, it comes from this belief of lack that there's not enough out there, of telling myself like, no, I am going to manifest a $10,000 month. Like
Hmm.
that is not crazy.
No.
That is something that is absolutely possible. It is possible for me. It is possible for my sisters. It is definitely something that we can accomplish, especially as full-time intuitives, which I think is something else that um, comes up for myself personally of like, can I actually be a full-time intuitive? And so that really has been a limiting belief for myself. So I absolutely like hear you very
Yeah.
much so. And I think too, this idea of like of that I need to be respected. I think um I put so much because I am a person of color, and there's a stigma of like if you don't like become a professional or if you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
do something with yourself, right? Like, are you truly like making in the world? Are you truly like being something, right?
This is
And
a great segue because I didn't go that route.
right. Which, and I think we've had so many conversations. I feel like that sort of piece came up so much. And if you're willing to talk about it, I would love for you to kind of go into it. I know that so many times in and outside of Soul Teacher, that would come up for you where you would be like, what do I do with myself? Like, I've done all of these amazing things and worked in so many industries. Y'all, if you don't know, Joanna literally I feel like
I'm a
has
jack of
done
all
it
trades.
all, and she's amazing. But you can, one of the things that we've all talked about with Joanna as like soul sisters was like, but where is your passion? And she is literally like passionate about it. She's done, let's go through the
I'm
list,
a
Joanna. You've
manifesting
done
generator. I don't know if you've talked about human design on this channel yet, but
we
it,
haven't
it's
yet.
it's well, preview to the next conversation when she has someone here for human design. So manifesting generators are known to be like, first of all, our gut, like we have to feel like good about something in order to like manifest it. Like it comes from emotion. And then our mind, depending, and I'm not like an expert on human design, but I do love it. I think it's fun and interesting. So I'm a 2/4 sacral, whatever that all means. They've explained it to me, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, makes total sense. But I change my mind a lot. I changed my mind a lot about the things I want to do. So the other day I was talking to my coach. I was over their house and I said something, we're talking about singing. And I was like, oh, I used to take vocal lessons. He's like, you've done everything. And I'm like, yeah. I've taken
Yeah,
acting classes, I've taken vocal lessons, I
you're a
take dance
dancer.
classes. I take dance classes. I'm on the salsa
She's a
dancing training team.
fighter.
I so that was my coach I was having the conversation with, and he's my kickboxing coach, and I we dabble in a little bit in jiu-jitsu too. Anything that sparks my interest, I'm like, I want to try it. I want to try it. And I was shower thought. I had this thought yesterday. I've been this way since I was a little girl. I used to tell my mom when I was little, I was like, I want to do karate or gymnastics, so didn't have like the financial means to put me in an extracurricular activity. And so I found theater because it was through school. And so that was like free and all that stuff. But yeah, I was in every club. If I wasn't busy, like I didn't know what to do with myself. And now is when I've learned to relax and appreciate like the non-busy moments. But yeah,
So
I've done everything.
yeah, so I'm so curious about that. Like, because I feel also, you guys, I have a lot of soul sisters, and keeping up with everyone is quite hard sometimes. And so many of us decided to take breaks at the end of 2021. It was very necessary for all of us. We're all heavily empathic and trying
Mhm.
to like adjust to this changing. I mean, the port, I don't know, Joanna, if you felt it. I know I certainly did.
The
Between,
portals?
yes, between the 12/12
Probably. I
portal
wasn't
and the
aware.
solstice, like there's so much energy, and then we like shifted into like a new coding, and like new earth is like here, and there's a lot of energy that we just all had to process. But in addition to the fact that we've all just been like kind of going all year, but what was that process of like coming to like where you are now, this like you're going to
Mm,
be an intuitive, like you're working as an intuitive, you're taking clients, which we'll talk about that as well, but like being a manifesting generator, how is that looking for you? How is this
yeah.
like owning and honoring who you are at your core? How is that working for you, and how did you get to that place?
Okay, how did I get here? Let's see. I I sometimes don't know, and then I sometimes think I'm like, I think this all started when I started doing Soul Seeker. I think that was like the catalyst of everything. Um, I had signed up for Soul Seeker. So as you know, but the audience might not know. So
Mm-hmm.
our teacher, Nikki Novo, I've actually been following her for years as she's evolved in her different stages of her business. So when I first met her, she was doing a blogging 101 course. I'm from Miami and she's from Miami. And so I like went to her, I found it on Eventbrite and I signed up and I went and I was going to be a blogger. And then I found out I wasn't going to be a blogger because I couldn't figure out what to write about.
I
and
love
then,
that.
and then I even found like an old email with her where I had asked like what were her service fees to help me start a blog. And she responded, and again, like my money mindset was just like, that's too expensive. It was always the fear of like committing to something, and I used a dollar amount as the fear because it's like, well, I don't know what the return on that investment's going to be, and like
Mm-hmm.
not having trust. So let's pin the word trust because we'll come
Yes.
back to that. And so then as I followed her and she was talking a lot about dating and stuff, then I started to like pay attention to her more. And then in 2016, I moved to New York and she had this group called the Clarity Club. And it was like a group healing, group coaching that she started. So that's kind of, she might have been talking about spirit guides at that point. Yeah, I don't fully remember, but that was like, I was reading The Secret at that time on my own. And then I joined this group. And a lot of like the first class of Soul Teacher, like they were in that group, And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where I started to kind of shed certain layers. and I just moved to New York. My dream was to live in New York, and then it was just kind of like, what now? Like, where do we go from here? This was like the hardest thing to get here, and like, where do we go from here?
Right.
So that was like a journey, and I read at that time The Alchemist, which is a great book that I recommend to everyone.
I love that book so much. It's like if you haven't read it, read it. Also, like keep your eyes peeled. That will definitely be on my book club list.
Yes. And then, time passes, you're following the content. Then she had like the final swipe, and, I started listening to the podcast more and everything. And then she started talking about soulmates and spirit guides and all these things. And I'm all for it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm absorbing it. And then when Soul Seeker came out, I was going through my spiritual awakening, my tower card moment. Like my life was just kind of crumbling.
Oh
Things
man.
weren't working out with work, dating situation wasn't working out anymore. I
Yeah.
was unhappy. I often, so I'm kind of open when I talk about like mental health and stuff, and I have dealt with depression and anxiety in my adulthood. If I
Same.
dealt with it in my teens, we didn't know to call it that. And they were
Mhm.
just so like small waves of it that like it wasn't like what do they call clinical depression? It was
Yeah.
just kind of like a funk.
Yeah.
And so in college, I started to really experience these like moments, and I'd get through them, get back on my feet. And I think by like 2019, I felt myself depressed again. And I was just like ready to take control. I was like,
Mm.
I'm tired of this thing taking over me whenever it wants to. Like, no more. Like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And you go to a therapist or you go to a psychiatrist, and they're all very important and needed, but they weren't giving me what I needed.
Mm.
And back to money, that cost money. And I was losing my job and I couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
So I do Soul Seeker, and you just kind of like run through the modules. And so now I'm kind of like still not trusting. I'm like, okay, I've always been intuitive, but maybe I'm not like psychic.
Mm.
And then we enter a pandemic and the world shuts down. And I have nothing else to do with my time but exercise and meditate and go for a run and try to figure life out. So that was kind of, I think, was like the huge catalyst. I think that's where the real journey began for me.
Mm.
So I redid Soul Seeker during that time. I redid it. And and then I started to like journal a lot more. Journal has always been a practice of mine, but I started to like make it a daily practice. And so I'd have this daily practice where I'd wake up, meditate, maybe 30 minutes, journal, get up, exercise, and go for a run to ground myself, and then start my day. And it was the most healing thing ever. And life was crumbling around me, but I felt more like empowered with it. And then I continued on with the courses that she has, which led me to Soul Teacher. And it was always for me, like knowledge for me. So by the time we did Soul Teacher, I was just kind of like, I'm this far in. I kind of just want to see what's on the other side of it. Like, what else can I learn? What else can I like
Yeah.
apply to myself? And I had no intentions at all of like making a business out of it, of doing anything with it. So it was our last month in Soul Teacher, and everyone's talking about their business ideas and all this stuff. And I was like, let me just play with this idea I have in mind, because I've always known I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I studied television, writing, producing in college. So I knew there was an opportunity to have my own production. Like there's an entrepreneur path opportunity within that industry where I could have like
Yeah.
been a producer and have my own production company and all these things. So the seed was always there for me. I just never knew. Kind of like with the blog.
Mhm.
It's like I know I want to write and communicate with people, but what about? Like I have no clue. So
Right.
I when we learned in Soul Teacher that business carry its own energy, that's where I was like, I always have great ideas for my friend's business. Or like if someone tells me they have like a business idea, I run with it. And I'm just like, and you could do this and you could do that. And I never thought of it as coming from an intuitive place. I thought it came from creativity. Like
Mhm.
I don't, it's interesting. I consider myself an artist and a creative person, but not like creative enough where I've worked in marketing agencies, and I
Mhm.
never considered myself creative enough to be the creative. you know?
Mm.
But I can think outside the box and like brainstorm. I can get creative. And so then I just decided with the girls in class, I was like, all right, I'm gonna set up this Calendly and I'm gonna put some dates available and whoever wants to sign up with me. And some people signed up and I gave them the business reading. And it was just like I got the validation from them. And from that point, I was just like, I just started to follow the path. Like I didn't care what was on the other side. I was just like 1 foot at a time, like, you know,
It
see where it
goes
leads
back
you.
to, yeah, it goes back to that word trust that we,
Hmm.
said you all have to pay attention to. And it's so true because when you're doing something new, and like not necessarily like new to the world, although I think um choosing intuition as a career is certainly new for the
Yeah.
world, because I think what we're doing is so different than what has been done before. We are really some of the first people that are saying, no, like this is more than just a 60-minute psychic reading
Uh-huh.
for $60. What we're offering you is not just an inside look into what your soul has to say to you, but we're giving you healing and activation to get you through and over all of these humps. So like I think it's fascinating too, what people may not know is that for us as intuitives, like we're on we're on our own journeys. They don't all
Yeah.
start in, just because we're capable of seeing multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, multiple pathways, that we kind of have this understanding of like what's going to be beneficial for us. It doesn't mean that we don't have to go through the work, that we don't have to do all of the healing. And so we're in some ways, the way I kind of like to think about it, even though it sounds maybe a little off, is that we're the guinea pigs. Like we are the
Oh
guinea
yeah.
pigs for what it is that we're teaching and helping people learn.
Yeah. I was thinking
So,
about that just now as well, where a coach I used to follow on Instagram, I don't remember the name, but they said something along the lines about like what your and it was like a workshop about intuitive business, and stuff like that. And it's like what the lessons you've had to go through and learn are essentially what you're going to teach. So, like, when you're sitting here, like, what would I teach? What would I teach? I think it makes sense for me. Like, business has been a huge part because I've always wanted to create a business but didn't know how. Um, I followed my dreams and my path. Like, so I wanted to be an actress when I was younger. And then when I got to being like 18 and that path was like hitting roadblocks for me, and then I was like, fine, I'll be a psychologist. And then I was like, okay, no, let's give this creative route a try. And so I went the communications route into television because I wanted to stay within that entertainment world. And and then, working as I was a freelancer for like 6 years. And usually people go out of college and get a full-time job and then somewhere on the line break off to being a freelancer. I was a freelancer off the ball. Like I was immediately a freelancer. And it felt like a hybrid because it's like you're saying yes to the jobs. You are kind of making your schedule by saying yes to the jobs. You could choose like, no, I don't want to work that job because I'm going to go on vacation, or you could say yes, I'm going to work it and then do my vacation once that wraps. So I wasn't like a full entrepreneur, but I felt like I had some sense of like my own money management. Like I could negotiate my fees sometimes. Like there was a little bit of like that feeling, and then people that are in the crew, like camera operators, video editors, depending on the production, sometimes they might be hired as like their company. So they'll have like an LLC and get paid through their company. So in like listening to all that, I was like, okay, like there is an opportunity for me to be my own boss somewhere in all of this. And so as I work through all these limiting beliefs and I think about the business that I'm creating and I want to eventually coach clients, I'm like, all this is just like my own schooling, instead of me going to school for it, like I'm going through my own schooling for it so that I could then teach it to others,
yes.
like the student becomes a teacher.
Yeah, and it's very true. I and I think that's something you hit on a really amazing point too. It was something that I feel is kind of a tip or trick of like how to get over if you have a limiting belief about, that you're not good enough to do, right? Like going to that place of like, what is it that you have been through, right? Like what is the lesson that you've done the graduation from life type thing, right? Like the school of hard knocks. I kind of think of like, what have you
Yeah.
graduated already in? And I think that piece too sometimes is something that people miss and will not have that be like a part of their journey of like, hang on, I need to give myself some validation, some credit for the fact that like I've been through all of this stuff. Of course I know what I'm doing. Of course I could, teach on business, right? Because you've been in like done and tried and seen and been taught by others at this point. Of course. So I remember the day that you were like in our chat. So I know I've mentioned this before, but we all of my beautiful soul sisters and I have a WhatsApp chat, and this is how we like keep in contact for the most part with like all of us. And I remember the day that Joanna was like, you guys, I'm gonna do business reading. And I thought, yes. I was like,
I
she found it. She found it, you guys. It was so great. And I was so excited. And I
know.
remember just
Yeah.
watching the chat like blow up of like, congratulations. Oh my God, that sounds so amazing. Like, when can we book? Like all
Yeah.
these things. So
I
yeah,
know. And
business.
it's felt so right and aligned. And it's funny because I had a client recently want to book a session with me, and then she saw my thing. She goes, "Oh, you do business?" And I said, "No, no, just book, book anyway, and pose your question." Which is funny because like the people that are not in this world, if you will, like they're
Yeah.
not so deep in
They
as
haven't
we
entered
are.
Hogwarts yet.
They haven't entered, they don't know the questions to ask, and they're just kind of
Mhm.
like, I just want to know it all, like general. And so you're
Yeah.
just like, all right, fine, and through the conversation, it came up. I've thought of opening a business. And I was like,
Mhm.
and there it is.
And there it is.
And there it is. And that's why you were meant to speak with me.
Mhm.
Because just because you don't currently have a business, if you're seeking me out, there's probably like a little seed planted in you that's like just waiting for the day, or there's a lot of limiting beliefs stopping you. There's a lot of fear stopping you because of security. Because back to your conversation before, where you're talking about like becoming a professional, you're either working in medicine or you're working um, in law, or even so, like I'm from Miami, and my family has like government jobs. And so that's like the other route that I see as security, like people become firefighters or cops, or just anything that's going to give you like a pension, some kind of like nice retirement. And it's
Yep.
just the contracts like you do this for the next 30 years and then you're taken care of. And in that time, like you gain seniority and you can, you know, you'll get better pay over time. Like it's just like you just gotta like do this. And
Mhm.
that never aligned for me. I mean, hello, I wanted to be a freaking actress. So like to go from that to you're telling me like I just it didn't make sense to me. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, where do I get control of this? And I'm a control freak. I admit that. And that's another thing I've had to learn, to release a lot of control in order to trust. And so yeah, so like when it comes to the business side of thing, and when I do the business readings, it all comes full circle. It just
Mhm.
all comes full circle. And for me, like when I see the business side of things, I don't always see it as like being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. I say
Mm.
that from the start. But
Yes.
if you are passionate about something, it could be your side hustle. And
Mhm.
I'm finding more and more, and my aunt and I were having actually this conversation because she'll be becoming like a spiritual coach to starting her own ministry. I think it's for helping people in recovery. if I'm not mistaken.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so that's like her path. And I think one of her mentors, because I read for her, she had me do a reading for her. So I read her future business. And I kind of said like either get like pro bono people or ask for donation based, so you could get started with the experience. And she thought that was interesting because I think one of her mentors had said we usually used to say like start off with free clients, but now we're saying the like get even just a donation base because it's energy exchange,
Hmm.
and so even if you have a side hustle and like you enjoy making candles and that's like you love your full-time job and you're not about to quit your full-time job and there's security with your full-time job, but you like making candles and but you don't want to charge people a lot of money for it. I'm like, fine, charge what you feel comfortable with, but it's an
Yes.
exchange, and treat it outside of you. That's its own little business. That's not you,
Yes.
and so don't project all your emotions onto it, or don't like take it personal when things aren't like flowing. And so those are like the little belief systems that I am working through myself and then like preach to others. Like, all right, this is what
Hmm.
I found. So I almost see it like when you're in math class in high school and you're all trying to figure out solve the problem, and then that one person solves the problem and everyone's like, what's the answer, how'd you get there? And then you start explaining how you got
Yes.
the problem solved. That's what I do.
That is a great way to describe it. Yes,
That's what
I
I
love
do.
that. I love that so 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 much. And I think that that is this work that we do, right, is so amazing for getting people over those limiting beliefs, because like you said, sometimes people don't even know what it is that they're coming to you for. And they
Hmm.
and I encourage people, you know what, if there's somebody that you're if there's an intuitive that you're vibing with, so if whether that be me, whether that be Joanna, whether that be any of the number of my guests on the series, right, and you're just vibing with them and you go to their site and you're like, I'm not really sure, like, none of these things kind of really fit. Just book the thing that you feel the most comfortable with. Now, right, like Joanna was saying, it's an exchange, right? So we're giving you our time and our knowledge and our energy, right? You're providing us with the amount of which that we've either like posted on that reading, or that you are comfortable with. And I always say, you know what, even if you're signing up for example, I have I'm a healer, that's I deliver my messages through healings and through healing people and teaching people how to heal both themselves and others. So I have quite a few offerings that are healing based, but that if there is one that I have that's priced out at a lower rate and that's what you feel comfortable with, don't don't think that you're not going to get what you came for. Just trust, like Joanna was saying, and know that you're exchanging what you need and you will get back what it is that you need. This is something that I feel so so strongly about, that you find what is comfortable for you and don't um like put yourself on hold. Joanna explained that beautifully within your story, right, of like
Yeah.
starting off with Nikki and just saying, you know
I
what, I'm going to
just,
pick the thing that is most comfortable to me and I'm going to trust, and that's just, I'm going to go.
with the business side, especially like once we were finishing Soul Teacher, I don't know if it was like maybe a low key sense of FOMO that I was like, wait, am I really gonna like come out of this 3-month course and not have a business when like that was like
Oh, I
basically
love
like
it.
everyone like figured their stuff out? Like, am I really gonna be that person? I don't know if there was that, but it was just like a challenge myself type of thing. And really just I've always waited for the right opportunity. Like, once all the puzzle pieces are here, I will build the puzzle. And this was the first time in my life that I can recall. Maybe I've done it in the past too, and I just don't remember a specific moment. But this was felt like the first time where I was like, I know this much, and I'm just gonna move forward. So like we left Soul Teacher, and through one of the workshops that we had done, I had met a business coach, and so I immediately like resonated with her and hired
Mhm.
her, and that built out my business plan and strategy. And I was like,
Yes.
I didn't, and that's another thing, right? We don't have to do this stuff alone. We don't have to do this stuff alone.
Another
So,
limiting belief. I have to do
yeah,
this alone. Yeah.
yeah. And so that's a great point right there because I feel like when people think of limiting beliefs, I don't know what everyone might think of them to be, but they're not as obvious as we might think.
Yeah.
Just that of like, oh, I don't know what my business, I still don't have a business name, y'all.
That's funny.
But here I am. The
Here we
concept and
are.
the
I love it.
the concept and the idea is out there, and so I'm just like, I know the service I'm providing, I just don't have like a name, whatever
This
I'm
is
called.
this is trust in action, y'all.
Yeah, and because normally I'd be like, I don't have a name, I can't start this. I have all the pieces, but I don't have a name. No. I already know I want to create a podcast. I don't have a name for that podcast, which that I will need before I like launch it. But in my head, I've already like I have like a note on my phone that's like the guests that I'd want to have on, what we want to talk about, what I think the themes are. And it's just like if that's the final nugget I need, the name will come to me when the time is right. You got to trust timing too.
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
to trust the timing of things too. And so it's just kind of like so freeing to just go and
Yes.
just go with the flow, literally go with the flow. And I
And
can be a go with the flow person, but I know that if I really am honest with myself, I'm a control freak. I used to like want to control everything, you know.
join the club. I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo sun, and like control and like practicality and like organization is like so near and dear to my heart
Yeah.
that I can't even begin to describe that. I've got also a lot of planets in earth signs, so like I feel like I've doubled down on like
Yeah.
groundedness and stuff. Um and it's I love that you say that. I love that you say, you have to be able to go with this feeling. So this is something else, and I haven't quite talked about this openly yet. This is like the first time that I think I'm even going to be putting this out there for people. But we have, with this last solstice, moved into a different coding in earth, and so stay
Mm.
with me, y'all.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get a little weird, but we've gone from a 12D coding to a 13D coding, and that is what's bringing in new earth. And this new energy, this higher frequency, is all about a very defined and very balanced divine masculine and divine feminine. We were in that 12 decoding was very much like this hyper divine masculine, and it no longer serves.
I
And
was just
so
gonna ask, was it very masculine? And then I got the
it was.
goosebumps and you said it, and I'm like, yes.
It was highly masculine. It was very much about go, go, go. It was very much about, the steps and the goals. And it is no longer like that. It is not. And the best part in my mind is that it's not purely divine feminine either. You can't just go with the flow and expect all of the things to like come to you and work out, which is why I love your story, because you have said, you know what, I have this, I have this, I have this. These are the containers, right? This is what it is that I want to do. This is what I'm manifesting forward. But you do have these aspects within each of these projects, right, within your career that you're choosing, right, that haven't yet come to you, and you're okay with those coming in at the divine time, and you trust that, and you trust that the universe is going to catch you, and it will. And I just like have been trying to find the best way, and I love that it's divinely happening right here. This is what I'm talking about, y'all, of introducing that thought to people and that knowledge to people, because there are going to be times when you're like, oh, I have all these things, but there's this one thing missing. That is what this new earth, this 13 decoding is all about. It's about understanding this balance between divine masculine and divine feminine, and really allowing those two things to mesh and come together and find this beautiful harmony. And so listening to your story and like how this business is developing for you and all of these aspects that are going to give you whether it be audience members converting to sales, bringing people into you for clients and people wanting to work with you. It is just so beautiful that you're not being hard on yourself, because I think there are a lot of people out there who, especially women, who are going to think, "Oh, but you know, if I don't have every little thing done, then how in the world is anybody going to trust this?" And the fact of the matter is, you have to trust yourself first. You do. You have to let go of that thinking of you're not good enough, you aren't smart enough, you aren't talented enough, you aren't worthy enough, all of these things, right? That all equal out to limiting beliefs. You have to let go of those. You have to work through them, heal them, and just understand that the universe has got you, source has got you, God has got you, whatever it is that you believe is out there, it has you. And
Yeah.
it will make sure that you have everything you need when you need it. You just
Yeah.
have to keep, you just have to keep going.
A question I have for you, it came to me since you work in the medical field.
Mhm.
Do you consider the medical field in the divine feminine or more masculine,
Mm.
balanced?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm actually going to be giving up bedside nursing here in March, actually, of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about limiting beliefs. That was definitely a big one for me this year that I've had to reconcile with. But I did so because the way that medicine was created in terms of the more modern age. So ignore everything that's indigenous, aboriginal, that's ancient, because that is a completely different system.
Correct.
The more
Like
modern system,
the Western
yeah,
medicine.
the Western medicine is highly built within a masculine structure. It's considered a business. People, you know, you're no longer you're no longer treating patients, you're servicing customers. And it was made very clear to me in the last couple of days, actually, that of this shooting, that that is not a system that I can function in, because as this like portal and this change of this energy and this coming into a new earth, that is where I'm more aligned. Like I see it with, you know, all of the intuitives that are up and coming right now and who are have been doing this work for a lot of years. We've been ascending and we've been raising our personal vibrations, and so we're noticing that the environments in which we're in no longer fit us for whatever reason. Either we're starting to butt heads with our bosses or with our coworkers, or there's just this feeling of apprehension and like nervousness when you step into the place that you work or whatever it might be. And that dis-ease is the trigger that you should be paying attention to. That system that you're in, that place that you're in, those people that you're around, they are no longer suited towards you. It's going to become a problem at some point. And that's what's happened with me with medicine. And I had to realize that new earth and this new coding of earth is very much this very beautiful balance between masculine and feminine, and that's where I as I leave this old system that is very broken and it's breaking. And we're seeing that. We're seeing, especially in America, the health system is breaking. We don't have good plans. We're constantly changing things. And while change is not bad in and of itself, I think the reason why we're changing so much, why things keep shifting, is because those who have power and who are creating these systems are making choices out of fear instead of out of empowerment, and instead of out of like the highest and greatest good. And so these systems will continue to break. So Breath of Life, my business um has always told me, Abigail, like there is this like thing that we're gonna do, and we're gonna, you know, it's gonna have a lot to do with healing. It's gonna have a lot to do with medicine, and so it's really asked me to step into that and let it thrive and let it start
Yeah.
growing. So yeah, sorry, long answer to your question. Yes, the modern medicine as it is very built on a masculine framework. It's breaking. It does not work and function, and you're going to see a lot more of what I'll be doing, where it's more empowerment and you provide your own healing and really creating this ability to heal yourself from within. And so like I've developed a course called Mind Over Matter, Becoming a Medical Intuitive, that really teaches people not only how to heal
Oh
others, but
my
how to heal
God.
yourself from the inside out. And I've tested it, I've proven it, it's great, I love
That's
it. And
exciting.
yeah, so it's on one hand, I think because of my own limiting beliefs about education and about professionalism and about worthiness in particular, giving up a career that I know was like contracted in, like um
Oh yeah.
I've gone up to my Akashic records, I've looked at my soul contract, and right there, be in medicine, be in modern medicine, be a nurse. It's right there in black and white energy.
Yeah.
And to know that I checked marked that off and that I accomplished that, but that was all that I was meant to do with it.
Yeah.
Like I was meant to like learn that because I needed that knowledge in order to be able to do what I'm doing now. It's still like it still was something that I needed to grieve. So which brings me to my next question. As you go through your own limiting beliefs and you start breaking these chains, do you ever find that there's one, two, or maybe all of them that you're like, oh my God, I was so tied to that, and now I feel like I'm dying inside, or like a piece of me has died? Who am I? What am I
I
doing on this
love
earth?
I love when everything comes full circle because I was going to explain the reason for my question to you about that to kind of bring it full circle, but you've done it for me.
This
So
is intuitives connecting at work, y'all.
you've done it for me. So I asked the question because as you're talking about the new earth and all these different things, are we still like the age of Aquarius is not just 1 year, right? Like this is like
It's
we're
not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people, I would say that a lot of the intuitives within our group really believe that that is something that's like happening. We're in it. We've
I
been
know
in it
there's
maybe for a few years.
there's a
But
lot of
yeah,
controversy with
there
that.
is. Yeah, some people believe that it hasn't happened yet. I fall into the category of I believe that it's been happening. That it's people have this false understanding of the age of Aquarius, of like the age of Aquarius is like light and beautiful and happy, and I'm like, well, there has to be like a transition into it, and that's what
Yeah.
we're feeling.
So I'm gonna kind of think out loud right now and answer in that way. But so my moon sign is Aquarius. I'm a
Mhm.
Pisces sun. My moon sign is Aquarius. And when I did a workshop with Chelsea about learning the charts, I was blown away because I was like, oh, I've been living in my sun sign this whole time, the creative, the media industry, the entertainment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And now, as that has crumbled, it's like I'm moving into my moon sign, the Aquarius, the
Mhm.
healer, the
Yeah.
compassion, that. And to answer your question, I had to trust that the next job for me, whether if it was just to pay the bills or whatever it was just like the one that was going to be meant for me. Throughout the whole pandemic, I kept applying and interviewing for like producer roles, associate producer,
Yeah, I
production
remember.
coordinator, editor, all these different things. And I was like learning to edit again because I was like, well, that's a skill that I am lacking and missing. And maybe that's going to be my ticket into like my next job. And all stuff. So I was like, I don't want to do client services. I want to go back to production and I want to stay in this world and everything. And then I kind of just started to slowly let that go and said, well, clearly I'm hitting a wall with that. Great interviews. no offers. So what else can I do? And I started playing with different ideas. And my friends, work in the education system and they were giving me different like ideas. And I just started to follow all these little breadcrumbs. And then one day, a friend posted on Instagram that a dentist office was looking for a hygienist, assistant, or a receptionist. And I was like, oh, I can be the receptionist. I'm not the other two, but I could be a receptionist. And so that's my day job now. I work at a pediatric dentist office. And so I had to go through all this experience and all this like shedding to step in and trust that whatever the next thing was meant for me. And when you think about someone that worked in production and marketing, ending up at a dentist office, you're like, whoa, how does that happen? And it's right where I'm supposed to be. And back to what you're saying, I feel like that contract served
Mhm.
its purpose.
Yeah.
And now that I'm looking to be in the wellness industry and I'm looking to be a full-time intuitive and coach clients and all that stuff, I needed to step into this world of medicine, of
Yeah.
wellness, and see how other people are a container
Yeah.
for this and really like be exposed to that and learn. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but
You
that's
did.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that what you were saying about shedding,
You get
um,
curious and you're just like, all
yeah.
right, well, the interview seemed to be going well. I know that I could serve a purpose there. And if they offer it to me, then that's the sign.
Yeah.
And I've learned to not be so attached. I think you mentioned the word attachment. I learned to
Yeah.
not be so attached to these outcomes because then you really limit yourself. When you're attached, you're really
Mhm.
just saying like it's this or nothing. You're giving your own self an ultimatum. And
Yes.
universe is like doesn't work like that, babe. Like we sometimes gotta go through these hoops to get you to where you want to be. There's some detours along the way because there's some roadblocks, but in order to get you to your journey, your destination, like we you got to make that left turn,
Yes.
and and time again, I've been shaken out of scenarios, even scenarios that I was like, okay, this isn't serving me anymore. On X date, I will handle it. And universe comes around and they're like, that's a little too late. We're gonna handle it now.
That's exactly how I felt. I was like, I had it planned in my head of like, I'm gonna wait another 2 years. I'm gonna, do this. And as my business does this, I'll do this with nursing and like, just kind of do this whole like, gentle easing into fully into breath of life as I gently ease out of nursing. And it was like the universe is like, Abigail, how many times do we have to tell you? And it's what's funny is that I'm a huge believer in like if you want something, you state it, you make it your reality, right? And you are the creator of your reality. And so at one point I was so frustrated because there were a couple of people that were telling me that I needed to just kind of bite the bullet as it were and just quit my day job. And I said no,
I
because once
remember being
again,
in a workshop with you where they were like, yeah, that's gonna, and I was like, oh.
yeah, yeah. So Miss Alice was was a panelist with me on one of Nikki's webinars that I was on, and she was like, like you're gonna have to like, and Nikki said it to me a couple of days later, and it was not like the first time. And I said, I remember messaging her. I owe her an apology. Not because I was like rude or anything, but because like I should have just been like, yeah, okay, just because of course everybody has been like, Abigail, you have to put your whole self into breath of life in order for this to work and believe that that's going to be it. And the universe has just gone and said, you know what, we're going to like make this so that you cannot ignore it. Like, not only are we going to show you and make you feel how this is breaking and this no longer suits you, but we're also going to like make it impossible for you to not come into this. And yeah, there is absolutely a possibility that that first month that I'm not working as a nurse, there's going to be a lot of anxiety and my human side is going to be coming out going, oh my gosh, what did I do? Can I get my
Yeah.
job back? um,
And you
So,
can, maybe
I,
not
you know,
there, but
I,
anywhere, like you can. And that's the
right.
beauty of it. Like that's kind of how I feel about production too. And people ask me like, "Oh, is this job you have now just kind of like until you go back to the other stuff?" And I'm like, "They treat me good. I'm happy. I leave work at work." I'm like, it's serving its purpose right now, so I'm not really thinking that far ahead. And funny thing is, I saw like a job posting for like the brand Rite Aid, the company Rite Aid, and I
Okay.
saw like something along the lines of maybe like events or something in my background. I think I applied to that job, and maybe within 24 to 48 hours, I got one of those automated like rejection emails, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, and I didn't even take it personal. I just laughed at it because I was kind of like, that's a sign, like, here's where I'm supposed to be. And
Right.
and it's yeah, you can't always, you just have to kind of trust like
Yeah.
that human moment happens and you're like, this feels uncomfortable, but
Mhm.
you know, that discomfort is gonna push you that you're gonna be like, well, then Breath of Life needs to freaking do its job. So like, let's go.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. And that was basically what I ended up coming out with, because I was like, all right, so I had like declared that I was going to like stay in nursing and gently like ease out as Breath of Life took off. Well, Breath of Life decided like, no, like you're going to have to like jump full on in. And then you're gonna start seeing your $10,000 months. And I thought to myself, well, here we go. So it I think the best part about what we have learned and what we teach people is like, you always have a choice. I could choose to stay in this system that no longer functions for me and doesn't serve me in any way, and actually in a lot of ways hurts me, um, or I can continue to trust that, just like it has been doing for me this entire time. Like, I was brought into medicine, um, for a reason. I was brought onto this path for a reason. It has always caught me, and I just need to continue to trust now and believe
Hmm.
in myself. And I think that of all the like lessons, right, of like believing in yourself, because if we're talking about limiting beliefs, right, the one thing that you shouldn't have a limiting belief about is yourself and whether or
Yeah.
not you can make it.
The other thing I wanted to add about the limiting beliefs part is if someone's watching this and at the end they're just kind of like, okay, but how? Like,
Mm,
how do I clear it? For me, it's been like, I think what comes to mind is like the emotion. You're like,
mhm.
this makes me feel, ugh, this makes me feel bad about myself. This makes me feel like, oh, I don't have the money, so I can't be a homeowner. Or I don't know how I'd get the money, so this and this. Think about the opposite then. Like, so what would make you feel better? What would
Yeah.
bring excitement to you? What would, if I had the money, then I could own a house and then I can have a backyard and a
Mhm.
driveway. And that would just make me feel so like comfortable. Like it like think about all, and then you talk about this when it comes to manifesting, but that's what
Yes.
stops you from manifesting is the limiting beliefs. So in order to manifest, you have to switch the belief system. So now you go and you go for the feeling, not so much that attachment of what kind of house or where you want the house. You could end up with a townhouse that has a one car driveway, a one car garage, and like a very
Yes.
small backyard, but it checks the boxes of what you're looking
Mhm.
for. But as long as it matches the feeling you're looking to come out of it, then you
Yes.
start to do the process of like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is how I want to feel, what do I have to do, what is in my control.
Mhm.
Is it getting a better paying job to afford that? Is it changing my finances? Is it learning more about finances to know where I can invest? Where can I do these things? Is it that side hustle that I don't think
Mhm.
much about, but hey, an extra like $200 a month would make a difference. I could invest that money, and just making these little changes. And as you make the little changes and you shift your belief system, you start to make room for those things to come your way. And
Yes.
and that's kind of the overall process in a nutshell. It's
Yes.
like shifting the belief, going down this little road, and then things start to come your way. And then you're just
Yes.
like, oh my God, like it,
And all of a sudden it's there in front of you.
yeah. And the next thing you know, if that's what you're manifesting, the house with the backyard and the driveway that you want to feel comfortable in, suddenly you're like, okay, I have it. Maybe it's not the house that I pictured, but vision boarding is great for, like, going through your limiting beliefs too. Think about the vision that you're looking to create. Really check in with yourself, have a one-on-one with yourself, and like, why can't I create these things? And then you start tackling it that way. There's so many
Yes.
ways to go about it. It's not linear, but
Mhm.
if anyone watching this is like, okay, but how do I go about it? Start there. Start that
Yes.
process.
Yeah, go. I think the beautiful part about each of those things of the, shifting that belief, which, you can do that through writing and journaling or writing yourself a letter or whatever it is, or that
And
vision
believing you
board.
deserve it.
Yes, is going inside and finding that feeling and finding the opposite of that feeling. But it all means that you have to go inside. You have to do that work of truly, like you said, believing in that opposite. And I think, like, plugs for both of us, like, this is what we do. This is what we do. We help
Yeah.
you figure out where those blocks are. So some of you may be watching going, I don't really know what my blocks are. I don't really know what my limiting beliefs are that are truly, truly stopping me. And
Yeah.
that's what Joanna and I are here for.
Yes.
Come on in, join the Woo Cruise
Yes.
around the world. And if you're looking for help, shifting those blocks and working with us. I know that Joanna is doing these readings, these beautiful readings, for both business and people just in general.
Yeah.
I have mentorships and similar readings. I don't read for businesses, but for certainly for people and their blocks and things. And it is possible to find that space where you are able to truly see what is out there for you, what you are meant to do, where your purpose lies, where you're most comfortable at, and able to bring that forth. You can co-create that, you can manifest that into your life. And I really just love that I have Joanna here, because she really truly is one of the best examples of just
Thank you.
believing in something. You are more than welcome. So where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? How can they work with you?
So for now, the best way to find me is my Instagram. All things, again, we're going as we go. So the website will come in due time, but my Instagram handle is JO_ANNA_DJ, D as in dog, J as in John, uh, Joanna, Joanna DJ. So that's my handle. And if you have notes, you could probably like tag it in
Yeah,
there.
they'll all be down
Um,
in the descriptions because I love
yeah.
descriptions.
And then when you go to my Instagram, I do have a link tree there that has my Calendly links, and there it allows you to read about my service and then schedule and book a day and time that works for us. The way I kind of do it is I do a Zoom call, and I meditate prior to our call. And then on the Zoom call, I record it so that I can send the audio file to you, and then you could review it on your own time. And it's a whole hour call, so we have a chance to discuss and ask questions and just take it from there. And the biggest thing I find is I'm often telling people what they already know about themselves, but
It hits
either
different when somebody
it
else
hits
tells you.
different. Yeah. Especially someone you don't know or
Yeah.
isn't part of your day-to-day life to like let you know, and you're like, how do you know all that stuff? I'm like, I don't, your chakras told me.
Right.
I don't, your
Right.
chakras told me.
I love that. I'm gonna steal that from
Yes.
you. I don't know
There you go.
anything. Your chakras told me.
Your chakras told me.
Oh gosh.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much for
Joanna.
having me. This was great.
Oh, I'm so glad that I was able to have you on, and I'm so glad that I caught you right at the birth of so many things, because I am so excited to see where you go.
Yes.
And thankfully I have a front row
Come
seat.
along for the ride.
I have a front row seat to this, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so blessed to have you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all of you, my beautiful, beautiful fans and friends, I cannot tell you what it means to me that you have stuck with me and that you continue to show your support and like and comment and subscribe and all of the things. I just, like I said, too many words, not enough heart space, overflowing. Just love it. So thank you so much. And we will see you next time on the next Breath of Life Conversations.